All right, what we're reviewing today is distributing and combining like terms, and then we'll also be doing our solving equations. And so when you distribute and combine like terms, really what we're going to do is we're just going to have 3 examples. Remember, when you distribute, you have to be a good distributor. You don't want to be a bad distributor like I was in class. And so I distribute the -2 to everything in the parentheses. And so it becomes -2 times x. And then -2 times a -4, and then I do my math, which is -2x, and -2 times a -4 is an 8, but it actually becomes a plus because there would be 2 negatives touching, and we would make it plus. And so that's a basic distributive property. You just have to remember to distribute everything. All right, here's one where we have to do some adding of like terms. Now, here's the mistake that some of you will do. Some of you will say, oh, 3 plus 2 is 5, so you combine them. You cannot do that. This 2 is outside of parentheses, so you have to distribute it first. So 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 8 is 16. I can't do anything with that 3 because it's not outside of parentheses, or it's not inside parentheses, so I just bring it down. Now I look for my like terms, and my biggest term is 2x. And there's nothing to go with that, so I write 2x. And then if you notice, I have a 3 and a 16, which can go together. And so 3 plus 16 is 19. And so that answer is 2x plus 19. The last type of distributing we'll have is one that's a little harder. It has different letters, and it has several things hanging outside of the absolute, or outside of the parentheses. So I distribute this first, and now this is a -3. So -3 times a positive 4x is a -12x. -3 times a positive 5 is a -15y. And then what I do is the outside stuff, I bring it down. Don't multiply this 3 by this 2y. This 2y is not inside the parentheses, so it does not get distributed. Now I combine my terms by looking at my first variable, which is x. A 2x and a -12x is a -10x. And then I go to my y's, -15 and a positive 2, and that makes a -13y. Okay, so make sure you take your time with distributing and you take it to everything in the parentheses. If there's a minus out front with it, remember that that is actually a -3, just like I multiplied by a -2. Okay. And then our next one today is solving equations. And so we didn't get as far as I was hoping, but that's okay. So the first step is you're going to draw your line down. Draw a line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of the number that's not touching the x. Get rid of the number not touching x. And then remember, we do opposites. So if I have a plus, I'm going to minus, and if I have a minus, I'm going to plus. If I have a times, I'm going to divide, and if I have a divide, I'm going to times. So you get rid of what's on the outside the most, and then you get rid of what's touching it. And so what we have is we have some problems. And I did not draw these lines, but if you can split the bottom area into 3 sections, that would be great. So we'll have 5x minus 8 is equal to 12. And so I draw my line down. And the number not touching the x is the 8, so I need to get rid of a minus 8. And the way you get rid of a minus 8 is by adding 8 to both sides. Remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. And so 8 and -8 cross off. So I get 5x is 20. Now this is not just 5x, this is 5 times x. So to get rid of a times 5, I divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so it's gone. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. And there's your answer. Okay. So now we have one that's backwards, and that's okay. I have this 2 here, and then what's in front of this x? Yeah, that's right, it's a -1. So I need to get rid of this 2 first. This is a positive 2, so the way I get rid of a positive 2 is by minusing 2 on both sides. 8 minus 2 is 6, and I bring down the -1x. And remember, this is -1 times x, so to get rid of a times -1, I'm going to divide by -1. 6 divided by -1 is -6, so x is -6. Okay, last one, we'll have a fraction. And so I draw my line down from my equal sign. My number not touching x is this +8. And so the way you get rid of a +8 is by subtracting 8. And so I get x over 7 is equal to -6. And this over is actually not an operation. If you say over something, I'm not technically telling you to do anything. So it's going to be x divided by 7. And then the opposite of dividing is multiplying. And so I get -42. And that's the answer. So draw the line because it helps you out. Remember to do the opposite. And what you do to one side, you must do on the other side.